I stood in the sterile glow of Nexus Tech's executive floor, my fingers brushing the polished steel doorknob of the boardroom, when the door swung shut in my face. "Hold it, lady. The janitors come after hours," barked Victor Grayson, the CFO, his sneer cutting deeper than his words. His tailored suit and silver cufflinks screamed privilege, but his eyes cold dismissive saw only my black skin, not the PhD, the years of grit, or the secret I carried. I was Dr. Lena Harper, Nexus Tech's new CEO, hired to gut the rot of racism that had this company on its knees. My pulse raced, not with shock but with a fury I'd honed since childhood. I stepped back, my heels clicking on marble, and sent a single text: Operation Ember, now. In 10 minutes, I'd walk back in, not to mop floors, but to fire every executive in that room. Grayson's smug face would be the first to fall, and I'd make sure he felt every second of it. My story began far from San Francisco's tech empire, in a modest Chicago row house where my mom, a nurse, raised me alone. "Lena, they'll try to box you in," she'd say, braiding my hair before her night shift. "Break the box." She faced her own battles, overlooked for promotions, called sassy for speaking up, but her strength was my blueprint. By 14, I was coding in our basement, teaching myself Python while classmates chased popularity. Teachers suggested trade school. I applied to Caltech. The rejection stung, but my essay, fierce, unapologetic one, a partial scholarship. At Caltech, I was often the only black woman in labs, my code scrutinized harder than others. I graduated top 5%, then aced Wharton's MBA, my thesis on corporate turnarounds catching Silicon Valley's eye. I became the igniter, saving dying firms like Synergy Labs, which I flipped from a $30 million loss to profit in a year. Every step, I battled assumptions that I was less, that I didn't belong, each one fueling my fire. Nexus Tech was a beast of a challenge. Once a cloud computing giant, it was now hemorrhaging $35 million a quarter, its stock down 70%. Morale was a graveyard, talent fled. Venture firm Horizon Capital saw me as the cure. "You cut through the noise," said their partner, Elena Buscus. "No loyalties, just truth." They gave me carte blanche, a stake if I won, and one rule: stay anonymous until the board meeting. For months, I pored over data in a nondescript office, unearthing a culture of venom. Women earned 68 cents for every man's dollar. HR shredded discrimination complaints. Executives' private chats dripped with slurs, joking about keeping the C-suite clean. Grayson was the worst. His emails bragged about blocking those people from promotions. The evidence seared my soul, each word a call to war. That morning, I arrived early, my charcoal suit sharp, my tablet loaded with truth. I wanted to taste Nexus Tech's pulse before I tore it apart. The lobby guard's stare lingered too long. "ID," he grunted, handing me a contractor badge. Despite my board meeting claim, I bit back a retort cataloging the slight. The elevator hummed to the top floor, where the receptionist, a young woman with perfect highlights, barely looked up. "Service entrance is downstairs," she said. "I'm Lena Harper, for the board," I replied, calm but firm. Her eyes widened, then flicked away. "Wait there." I sat, observing the floor's rhythm. White men in power, people of color in cubicles. From the boardroom, laughter leaked. "Another day higher. We'll bury that resume." My jaw tightened, but I held still. A predator waiting. Grayson's door slam wasn't just personal, it was Nexus Tech's disease in flesh. His janitor jab echoed every time I'd been mistaken for staff. Every sidelong glance questioning my place. I could have flashed my title, humiliated him then, but I chose patience. Let him sink himself. I retreated to a corner, my phone alive with replies. Security prepped, HR armed with termination packets, my transition team on alert. I thought of Mom, once told to know her role by a doctor. She'd come home, hug me and whisper, "Lena, your role is whatever you make it." I opened her last text from my Wharton days. "Burn bright, baby, they can't dim you." It was my anchor, my ritual before chaos. Elena Vasquez arrived, her presence a quiet storm. "Dr. Harper, I'm sorry," she said, loud enough for the receptionist to flinch. "They should have brought you in." Grayson, stepping out to greet her, went rigid as I rose. "No issue," I said, voice clear. "Mr. Grayson just thought I was here to clean." Elena's gaze hardened. "Let's meet the board, then. They're eager for their new CEO." Grayson's smirk vanished, replaced by a flicker of fear. We entered, the room hushing. 9 faces, 8 men. 1 woman stared, confusion ripening to dread. Elena spoke. "Dr. Lena Harper, Nexus Tech's Chief Executive Officer, effective immediately." The silence was thick. Grayson scoffed. "This, a joke, Elena. We didn't sign off on her." Others nodded, emboldened. "Horizon Capital did," Elena said. "I see. They hold the controlling stake. Dr. Harper has our mandate." I stepped to the table, my tablet a weapon. "You weren't informed, Mr. Grayson, because you're the disease." I projected data, $35 million losses, 65% turnover, product failures. Then the truth chats, emails, HR, cover-ups. "Mr. Grayson, why did you block black promotions?" Calling Them risky. His mouth opened. No sound. Miss Caldwell, why did you bury women's harassment claims? Rachel Caldwell, VP of Marketing, paled. Mr. Patel, why do men earn 32% more for identical roles? CTO Sanjay Patel shifted. Mute. The kicker was video Grayson slamming the door, his janitor lying clear, followed by the room's chuckles. This is your legacy, I said, my voice ablaze. A culture of hate, incompetence, and collapse. It's over. I handed out folders, each a death knell. Discrimination, malfeasance, fiduciary breaches. You're fired, effective now. Security will escort you. Grayson exploded. You can't do this. It's a witch hunt. You're punishing us for being white. I met his eyes. You're fired for cause. The evidence is ironclad, vetted by counsel. Sign the severance or face courts. Rachel Caldwell tried flattery. Dr. Harper, I've championed diversity. I stopped her. You called inclusion box checking in emails, Miss Caldwell, while promoting your allies. Patel warned of client losses. I've met our top accounts, I said. They want change. Their defenses collapsed. Security entered, and one by one, they left Grayson last, his glare venomous. I felt no joy, only weight. This was justice, but the real work loomed. I called an all-hands meeting, the auditorium buzzing with nerves. I'm Lena Harper, your CEO, I said. The C-suite is gone. Here's why. I shared enough pay gaps, silenced voices, toxic chats to validate the purge without venom. I'm here to rebuild, but I need your talent, your truth. I unveiled my interim team, Amara Jones, a cybersecurity guru, as CTO, Diego Morales, a finance prodigy, as CFO, Sophia Khan, a marketing visionary, and more, diverse but elite. My door's open, I urged. Let's make Nexus Tech ours. A young coder, Marcus, has approached after, his voice low. I've heard big talk before. Why is this different? His doubt mirrored mine at his age. Because I've fought this fight, Marcus. I know the cost. Stick with Mile Show. He nodded, wary but intrigued. That nod was my first victory. Back in my office, I exhaled. Mom's text glowing in my mind, burned bright. Grayson's face haunted me, his rage a promise of war he'd fight back, and Nexus Tech's scars ran deep. But I was ready. This wasn't just a job, it was a reckoning, and I'd light the way. I stood in the quiet of my temporary office at Nexus Tech, the San Francisco skyline a blur through the window, my hand still trembling from the boardroom purge. Firing Victor Grayson and his cronies had been a surgical strike, but the aftershocks were already rippling. My phone buzzed relentlessly, mails from rattled employees, texts from my interim team, and a cryptic message from Elena Vasquez, brace for impact. They won't go quietly. She was right. Grayson, with his venomous glare as security escorted him out, wasn't the type to slink away. He'd built his empire on entitlement, and I'd just burned it down. I was Dr. Lena Harper, new CEO, a black woman who'd clawed her way from Chicago's South Side to this moment. But as I sank into my chair, Mom's words echoed, break the box, Lena, but don't let it crush you. The fight to save Nexus Tech from its racist, toxic culture was only beginning, and Grayson was already sharpening his knives. The next morning, I woke to a flood of notifications. Tech blogs screamed headlines. Nexus Tech C-suite wiped out in unprecedented shakeup. Some praised the bold move. Others predictably painted me as a reckless upstart who is Lena Harper. One asked, questioning my sudden rise. I scoffed. Sudden? I'd spent decades proving myself. Caltech, Wharton, turning around failing firms like Synergy Labs. But to them, a black woman in the C-suite was an anomaly, not a natural outcome of grit. I pushed the noise aside and headed to Neck, ready to rally the troops. The auditorium was packed, 400 faces staring, some hopeful, some skeptical, a few hostile. I'd promised transparency, so I delivered. The old guard's gone because they built a culture of exclusion, I said, projecting pay gap data. Women earning 68 cents to a man's dollar. We're losing $35 million a quarter, but the real loss is trust. I'm here to rebuild both. I introduced my open voice platform, a digital space for anonymous feedback, and urged them to speak freely. This is your company now. The room shifted, tension easing, but I caught glints of doubt. Marcus, the young coder who'd challenged me yesterday, lingered after. Nice speech, Dr. Harper, he said, arms crossed, but words don't fix years of being ignored. His edge wasn't personal, it was exhaustion, the kind I knew too well. I hear you, Marcus, I replied. Test me. Join the platform. Share what's broken. I'll act. He nodded, not convinced but willing. That nod was a thread I'd pulled to weave trust. Back in my office, I opened Open Voice. Reports poured in 17 by noon. Stories of racial slurs ignored, promotions denied to qualified women, a Latino engineer demoted for attitude. Each one twisted my gut, but I felt a spark of hope. They were speaking. I called Sophia Khan, my new HR director. Set up an external investigator, I said. No more cover-ups. We face this head-on by afternoon. The storm Elena warned about hit. Grayson announced Apex Tech, a rival startup. with 5 fired Nexus Tech executives at his side. Their press release was a dagger. Apex Tech offers proven leadership for enterprise clients seeking stability. The jab at my instability was clear. Worse, they'd poached a client's Brightwave and Core Dynamics claiming I'd deep their needs. Nexus Tech stock slid 15%, and my phone lit up with panicked board members. "Lena, this is chaos," said Richard Holt, a Grayson ally. "Clients are spooked. Fix it or we reconsider your position." His tone dripped with doubt, as if I'd stumbled into the CEO chair by luck. I bit back a retort and promised updates. Inside, I seethed. Grayson wasn't just competing, he was waging war, exploiting every crack in Nexus Tech's foundation. I met with my interim team, their faces taut. Amara Jones, my CTO, flagged a bigger issue. "Our systems logged unusual activity last night," she said. "Someone tried accessing our source code traced to an IP linked to Grayson's old account." My stomach dropped. He'd had 3 months to plant traps before I arrived. "Lock it down," I told Amara. "Full security sweep." Now, Diego Morales, my CFO, crunched numbers. "If we lose more clients, we're toast in 6 months," Sophia added. "Employees are rattled. Some think Grayson's right are moving too fast." I leaned back, the weight pressing harder. Mum's text flashed in my mind. "Burn bright, baby." I couldn't falter. "We counterattack," I said. "Client outreach, system fortification, and a town hall to steady the staff. No retreat." That evening, I hosted the town hall live stream to remote offices. The room hummed with unease. "I know you're worried," I began. "Apex Tech's making noise, but they're selling. Lies Nexus Tech's future is innovation, not exclusion." I shared my vision: a new product, Nexus Flow, to serve overlooked markets, and a mentorship program with Howard University to recruit diverse talent. Questions came fast. A white manager, Tom, stood. "Dr. Harper, are we rushing diversity? It feels like punishment for the past." His tone wasn't cruel, just defensive, a voice of the old guard. "It's not punishment, Tom," I said. "It's correction. We've sidelined talent for years. That's why we're failing." A black woman, Janelle, spoke next. "I've been here 5 years, passed over twice. Will this really change?" Her eyes held hope and fear. "Yes," I promised. "Your performance reviews are being audited. You'll see results." The room softened, but I knew promises weren't enough. After I found Janelle. "Tell me your story," I said. She hesitated, then shared. "A brilliant coder demoted after challenging a racist joke. I stayed because I loved the work," she said, "but it hurts." I nodded, my own memories surfacing, being called articulate like it was a surprise. My ideas credited to others. "You're not alone anymore." I told her join our innovation lab, lead a project. Her smile, tentative but real, was a win. But as I left, my phone buzzed with a new blow. A Bistic article. Nexus Tech CEO gambles on radical overhaul. It quoted insiders calling me vindictive and out of her depth, citing the stock drop. Grayson's fingerprints were all over it. I pictured his smug face, plotting from some sleek Apex Tech office, his rage at my uppity rise driving every move. He wasn't just a man, he was the system clawing to keep power. The next day, I visited Brightwave, our wavering client, in their Oakland office. Their CEO, Priya Anand, was blunt. "Lena, Grayson says you're gutting core services." "True." I laid out Nexus Flow's roadmap, showing how it enhanced their platform. "Grayson's selling nostalgia," I said. "I'm building your future." Priya nodded, unconvinced but open. "Prove it with a demo in 2 weeks." I agreed, heart racing. Back at Nexus Tech, Amara reported progress. The security breach was contained, but Grayson's team had copied proprietary algorithms. "It's enough to sue," she said. I called our legal team, file an injunction against Apex, ordered theft and breach of non-compete clauses. The move was risky, lawsuits could spook investors, but Grayson had to be stopped. That night, alone, I opened my journal. "A habit since Caltech. Am I naive?" I wrote. "Grayson's got decades of connections and I'm burning bridges to build a new world. What if it collapses?" Doubt crept in, cold and heavy. Then I remembered Mum, working double shifts, her hands raw but her spirit unbroken. She'd faced worse and never wavered. I closed the journal and drafted an email to the board outlining my plan: client retention, legal action, and a story circle event where employees would share experiences of bias to build unity. It was a gamble, raw, emotional, but believed vulnerability could forge strength. The story circle came 2 days later, in Nexus Tech's atrium. I went first, sharing a memory. At Wharton, a professor assumed I was on financial aid, ignoring my merit scholarship. It wasn't just ignorance, I said, it was a signal I didn't belong. "I'm here to say we all belong." Janelle spoke next, her voice shaking as she recounted years of microaggressions. Others followed: a queer designer, an Asian analyst, each story a brick in a new foundation. Marcus, the skeptic, shed last. "I thought this was PR," he admitted, "but I was wrong. I'm in." Applause erupted, and for the first time I felt the company breathe as one. But as we dispersed, Sophia pulled me aside. "Lena, we've Got a problem. Holt and 2 board members are calling for an emergency vote. Your leadership's on the line. My chest tightened. Grayson's shadow loomed larger, his influence seeping into the board. Holt's earlier warning echoed. Fix it or we reconsider. I pictured Grayson, his cold eyes plotting my fall, his network of old boys rallying to crush me. He wasn't just fighting for Apex, he was fighting to prove people like me couldn't lead. I called Alina. They're scared, she said. Grayson's whispering to investors, saying you're tanking the company. I steadied myself. Mom's text flashing. They can't dim you. I need 1 week. I told Alina, I've got a plan. She paused, then said, you've got my vote, don't waste it. I hung up staring at the city lights. The vote was in 5 days, and Grayson's war was escalating. He'd stolen code, clients, and now trust. But I wasn't the girl who backed down when Caltech said no. I was the woman who'd turned fire into light. I opened my tablet, drafting a pitch for a game-changing partnership with Solaris Systems, a tech giant. If I could land it, it'd silence the doubters. As I typed, I felt a pulse of defiance, growing stronger. Grayson thought he'd break me. He'd learn I was unbreakable. The air in my Nexus Tech office felt heavy, the San Francisco fog pressing against the windows as I stared at the email from Richard. Holt, emergency board vote scheduled in 48 hours. Your leadership is under review. My heart thudded, not with panic but with a fierce resolve that had carried me from Chicago's South Side to this moment. Victor Grayson's shadow loomed larger than ever, his Apex Tech war machine churning lies, stealing clients, and now poisoning the board against me. He wasn't just a man, he was the embodiment of a system that thrived on keeping people like me, a black woman named Dr. Lena Harper, out of rooms like this. I'd fired his entire C-suite for their racist, toxic culture, but Grayson was fighting, back with every weapon in his arsenal, media smears, stolen code, and whispers to investors. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom, burn bright, Lena, don't let them dim you. I closed my eyes, her words a lifeline, and vowed to turn this storm into my strength. I was Nexus Tech CEO, and I'd fight for this company and every person. It had failed until my last breath. The past week had been a gauntlet. Grayson's Apex Tech had poached 2 more clients, Novapulse and Skynet, with promises of stability that jabbed at my reforms. Nexus Tech stock slid another 8%, now down 23% since the purge. The media piled on a TechWire piece, quoting anonymous sources calling me divisive and obsessed with social justice over profits. I knew Grayson's fingerprints' old boy network had deep roots. Worse, Amara Jones, my CTO, confirmed his team had accessed our proprietary algorithms before their exit, planting backdoors that threatened our systems. We'd contained the breach, but the damage lingered. Employees whispered in break rooms, some buying Grayson's narrative that I'd destabilized a functional company. Even my interim team, loyal but stretched, showed strain. Sophia Khan, my HR director, reported 23 new open voice complaint stories of racial slurs, sexist emotions, and years of silenced pain. Each one fueled my mission but added weight to my shoulders. I called an emergency strategy session with my team, the conference room lit by harsh fluorescence. Diego Morales, my CFO, laid out the math. We're burning cash faster than projected. If we lose another major client, we're done in 5 months. Amara added, the back doors are closed, but Grayson's got enough of our code to mimic Nexus Flow's core features. Sophia's voice was grim, morale's slipping. Some managers think you're moving too fast, those want more change. Yesterday, I leaned forward, meeting their eyes. Grayson's betting we'll crack. We won't. We double down client trust, system security, and employee unity. Suggestions. Janelle, the coder I'd tapped for the innovation lab, spoke up, her voice steady despite her nerves. Let's open source part of Nexus Flow. It shows confidence and undercuts Apex Tech's stolen tech. I nodded, impressed. Bold. Let's explore it. Marcus, the one skeptical coder, suggested, host a hackathon. Get employees coding together, it'll build morale and spark ideas. Their ideas lit a spark. Do it, I said. And I'll visit our top client, Cascade, tomorrow. We keep moving. The Cascade meeting in San Jose was a tightrope. Their CEO, David Chen, was blunt. Lena Grayson's pitching Apex Tech as the safe bet. Says you're gutting what made Nexus Tech great. Why stay with you? I leaned in, projecting. Calm, Grayson's selling a past that was bleeding us dry, $35 million a quarter. Nexus Flow's new features, tailored for your users. Launch in 3 weeks. Apex Tech can't match that. I shared a demo mock-up, its sleek interface addressing Cascade's pain points. Sean's eyes softened. Impressive, but I need a beta by next month or we're out. I agreed, my stomach knotting. As I left, my phone rang. Sophia, her voice urgent. Lena, someone leaked open voice data to the press. They're spinning it as proof you're dividing the company. I froze. The betrayal sharp. Grayson's reach was deeper than I'd feared, turning our own truth against us. Back at Nexus Tech, I gathered the team to address the leak. Someone's playing dirty, I said, scanning their faces. But we don't hide. We release a statement. Open Voice is about accountability, not division. We're fixing decades of neglect. Sophia drafted it, her hands shaking with anger. Amara traced the leak to a mid-level manager, Greg, a Grayson loyalist. He's been emailing Apex Tech, she said. I sighed, the sting of disloyalty cutting deep. Suspend him, pending investigation, I told Sophia, and roll out two-factor authentication for Open Voice. As they dispersed, I felt the isolation of leadership. I opened my journal, a lifeline since Caltech, and wrote, Grayson's not just fighting for power, he's fighting to prove I don't belong. Every doubt I feel is his weapon. I can't let it win. I thought of Mom, her hands raw from night shifts, her spirit unbroken. She'd faced betrayal and never flinched. Neither would I. The hackathon, dubbed Nexus Ignite, came 2 days later, a bold move to rally the troops. The atrium buzzed with 200 employees, coding in teams, pizza boxes strewn about. I joined a group, my sleeves rolled up, debugging, alongside Marcus. Didn't expect the CEO here, he said, a grin breaking his usual skepticism. I code too, I shot back, earning a laugh. Janelle's team pitched a Nexus Flow feature for small businesses, a market Grayson's elitism ignored. Watching them, I felt a surge of pride. These were the voices Nexus Tech had silenced, now roaring. But the high was short-lived. Elena called. Midipend, Lina Holtz got 3 board members pushing for your ouster. They're citing the stock drop and client losses. Grayson's been lunching with them. My chest tightened. When's the vote? I asked. Tomorrow, noon, she said. You've got my support, but you need a win fast. That night I barely slept, Grayson's face haunting me. His smug certainty, his janitor's sneer, his calculated sabotage. They weren't just personal. He was the system, the one that told Mom she was too loud, that told me Caltech was too big. I pictured him holed up in a glossy office, toasting his comeback with men who saw me as an intruder. My anger hardened into focus. I called Priya Anand at Brightwave, our wavering client. Priya, I need 30 minutes tomorrow, I said. I'll show you Nexus beta early exclusive. She hesitated, then agreed. Next, I emailed Solara Systems CEO Nadia Patel, pitching a partnership to integrate Nexus Flow with their platform, a $45 million revenue boost. It was a long shot, but I had to swing. The next morning I faced the board's pre-vote briefing. Holtz, stare, I see Lena, the market's panicking. Clients are jumping ship. Explain why we should trust you. His tone dripped with Grayson's influence, each word questioning my right to lead. I stood, projecting strength. We've lost ground, but we're gaining. I'm meeting Brightwave today to secure their contract. Our hackathon sparked features that'll outpace Apex Tech, and I've filed an injunction against Grayson for stealing our code evidences with our lawyers. Holt scoffed. Bold moves, but risky. If Brightwave walks, you're done. I met his gaze. They won't. Inside I wasn't sure, but doubt wasn't an option. The Brightwave meeting was make or break. Priya's office overlooked it, but her expression was all business. Lena Grayson's demo was solid. He's got our old team, our old tech. Why you? I opened my tablet, showing Nexus Flow's beta clean innovative, built for their users. This isn't old tech. It's a new vision, created by talent Grayson ignored. You'll have it in 3 weeks, with dedicated support. Priya leaned forward, intrigued. You're betting big. If you deliver, we're in. If not, we go with Apex Tech. I shook her hand, my heart pounding. As I left, Sophia texted Legal got the injunction. Grayson's blocked from using our code. A small victory, but it bought time. Back at Nexus Tech, I prepped for the board vote. My journal opened. Grayson's not just fighting me, he's fighting change. Every employee who spoke at Story Circle, every idea from the hackathon, is proof he's wrong. I'm scared, but fear's just fuel. I thought of Janelle's courage, Marcus's shift, Mom's unbreakable spirit. I drafted a statement for the staff. Win or lose, we're building a Nexus Tech where everyone rises. Keep fighting with me. At 11:45, Alina called. Lena Solara's interested. Nadia Patel wants a meeting tomorrow. My breath caught. A Solara deal could tip the vote. I hung up, Grayson's sneer flashing in my mind. He thought he'd bury me. Instead, I'd bury his lies. As noon loomed, I walked to the boardroom, my heels steady, my tablet loaded with truth. Holt's vote was a blade at my throat, Grayson's hand guiding it, but I was no stranger to blades. I was Lena Harper, forged in Chicago's fires, tempered by every door slammed in my face. This was my fight, not just for Nexus Tech, but for every Janelle, every Marcus, every voice silenced by men like Grayson. I pushed open the door, ready to burn brighter than ever. The boardroom door clicked shut behind me, the weight of the moment pressing against my chest as I faced the Nexus Tech board, their eyes a mix of doubt and expectation. Richard Holt's glower was a blade, sharpened by Victor Grayson's whispers, ready to sever my tenure as CEO. The emergency vote to oust me was minutes away, and the air crackled with tension. I was Dr. Lena Harper, a black woman who'd fought from Chicago's South Side to this San Francisco C-suite, and I'd just received a lifeline. Solara Systems CEO Nadia Patel had agreed to a meeting. hinting at a $45 million partnership that could save Nexus. But Grayson's wore his Apex Tech, stealing clients, leaking our secrets, and fueling media smears had pushed us to the brink. My phone, tucked in my pocket, held Mum's text, "Burn bright, baby. They can't dim you." I straightened, my tablet glowing with evidence, and prepared to fight for the company I was reshaping. For every employee I'd promised a fair shot, and for the truth that racism could no longer choke Nexus Tech's future. This wasn't just a vote, it was a reckoning, and I'd make them see my fire. The past 48 hours had been a crucible. Grayson's Apex Tech had escalated its assault, poaching another client, Omnitech, with lies about my radical reforms. Our stock teetered down 25% since the purge, and investors were spooked. The leaked Open Voice reports stories of racial and gender bias I'd encouraged employees to share had been twisted by Grayson's media allies into proof I was tearing the company apart. Inside, betrayal stung. Greg, a mid-level manager, had fed Grayson our data, and though he was suspended, the damage lingered. Employees wavered, some inspired by the hackathon's energy, others rattled by rumors of collapse. My interim team, Amara, Diego, Sophia, Janelle, stood firm, but exhaustion shadowed their eyes. The injunction against Apex Tech for stealing our code was a win, but Grayson's backdoors had compromised Nexus Flow's rollout. I'd secured a tentative reprieve from Brightwave, but their beta deadline loomed. Now, Holt and 2 board members, Grayson's puppets, were ready to end me, claiming my vision was a failed experiment. I saw Grayson smirk in my mind, his janitor sneer a taunt that fueled my resolve. I opened the board meeting with a steady voice, my tablet projecting new data. Nexus Tech's losses are stabilizing, down 10% this quarter. The hackathon yielded 3 Nexus Flow features, cutting our rollout time by a month. Brightwave's recommitting, and I'm meeting Solara Systems tomorrow for a potential $45 million deal. Holt interrupted, his tone sharp. Stabilizing isn't enough, Lena. Clients are fleeing, the stock's tanking, and your Open Voice stunt has the press calling us a circus. Grayson's Apex Tech is eating our lunch. His words echoed Grayson's narrative that I, a black woman, was too divisive to lead. I met his gaze. Grayson's not eating anything. Our injunction stopped his stolen code. Apex, a house of cards, his own team's imploding. As for Open Voice, it's not a stunt. It's accountability, uncovering decades of bias you ignored. I slid folders across the table, each detailing our wins, client retention plans, security upgrades, and employee engagement spikes post-hackathon. This isn't an experiment, I said. It's a rebuild, and it's working. Holt's ally, Margaret Chen, leaned forward, her skepticism softer but pointed. Lena, your passion's clear, but the market doesn't care about ideals. Why should we bet on you over proven leaders? The jab stung, but I saw my opening. Proven leaders like Grayson, who buried $35 million quarterly losses and silenced half our talent. I'm betting on the employees you overlooked. Chanel, whose code outshines Apex Tech's. Marcus, whose hackathon ideas saved us weeks. My track record synergelop's $30 million lost to profits as I deliver. Solara's meeting proves the industry's watching. Elena Vasquez nodded her support, a quiet anchor. Holt scoffed, but the room shifted, doubt cracking. The vote came fast, 9-3 in my favor. I exhaled, relief mingling with defiance. Grayson's first strike had failed, but he'd swing again. The Solara meeting the next day was my chance to turn the tide. Nadia Patel's office in Palo Alto buzzed with energy, her reputation as a tech visionary, daunting but inspiring. Lena, I've seen your numbers, she said, her gaze sharp. Impressive, but Grayson's pitching stability. Why Nexus Tech? I leaned in, my demo ready. Stability's a myth when you're bleeding talent. Nexus Flow's built by voices. Grayson ignored diverse, innovative, solving problems Apex Tech can't see. Integrated with Solara's platform, and will boost your revenue 20% in a year. I showed Nexus Flow's beta, its interface sleek, its features tailored to Solara's gaps. Nadia's eyes lit up. Bold, I like it. Let's draft a $50 million deal conditional on a full demo in 4 weeks. I shook her hand, my heart soaring. This wasn't just a contract, it was a signal to the industry. Nexus Tech was back, and I was leading. Back at headquarters, I launched the Equity Ambassadors program, training 50 employees to champion inclusion across teams. Janelle led the first session, her confidence blooming as she shared her story of being demoted for speaking up. This isn't just policy, she told the group. It's personal. We're changing lives. Marcus, now an ambassador, approached me after. I didn't get it at first, he admitted. But seeing Janelle lead, I'm all in. His shift from skeptic to ally was a quiet victory. I also rolled out Walk the Floor, spending an hour daily with teams, listening to coders, marketers, even admins. Juan Rosa, a Latina receptionist, shared how Grayson's team ignored her process improvement ideas. They said I was just support, she said. I put her in charge of a workflow pilot. Her grateful nod fueled me. Grayson struck again that week, his venom unrelenting. Apex Tech released a knockoff Nexus Flow feature, skirting our injunction with tweaks. TechCrunch ran a hit piece. Nexus Tech's Harper faces mutiny as old guard fights back. It quoted a former executive, Grayson, I knew, claiming I'd alienated proven talent. My team traced his latest move. He'd contacted Cascade, our biggest client, warning them our beta would fail. Cascade CEO, David Chen, called, his tone tense. Lena, Grayson's demo was convincing. If your beta's not flawless, we're gone, I reassured him, but panic gnawed. Grayson wasn't just competing, he was sabotaging, his rage at my intrusion into his world driving every move. I pictured him, his cold eyes plotting, his privilege a shield he'd wield until it broke. I doubled down, hosting a vision night to rally employees. In the atrium, 300 staff gathered, screens beaming to remote offices. I shared Solara's deal, the injunction's success, and Rosa's pilot. Grayson's betting on our failure. I said, he's wrong, you're proving it every code, line, every idea. I invited stories. Rosa spoke, her voice firm. I was invisible before, now I'm leading. Applause erupted. A white engineer, Tim, stood, hesitant. I benefited from the old system, he admitted. But this is better. I'm learning from people I ignored. His honesty stunned me. A crack in the old guard's armor. The night ended with a pledge. We rise together. I felt it, a pulse of unity. Fragile but real. Legal delivered more good news. The injunction expanded, freezing Apex Tech's knockoff, but Grayson's final blow landed that night. My assistant Mia rushed in, pale. Lena. Someone sent anonymous threats to you, your mum, even Janelle. The messages, vile and racial, promised to end my diversity crusade. My stomach churned. Mom's safety a new weight. I called her, urging her to stay with my aunt in Milwaukee. I'm fine, Lena, she said, her voice steady. You keep fighting. I hired security for Nexus Tech and myself, the cost a bitter necessity. In my journal I wrote, Grayson's not just a man, he's fear, clawing to keep power. I'm scared, but I'm stronger. I thought of Rosa's courage, Tim's shift, Mom's resolve. They were my army, and I'd lead them. The next week Nexus Flow's beta neared completion, Janelle's team working overtime. I joined them, coding late, my hands on the keyboard, a reminder of why I started. Amara reported a breakthrough, a new encryption layer, making our tech untouchable. Diego's numbers showed losses slowing, employee satisfaction up 20%. The press noticed Forbes ran Nexus Tech's quiet revolution, praising our inclusion push. But Grayson's shadow lingered. He crashed an industry event, slurring me as a quota, hire 2 reporters. His outburst caught on video, backfired, his allies distancing themselves. Apex Tech's stock dipped, their team fracturing. I saw his desperation, his empire crumbling, and felt no pity, and purposed as the demo loomed. I walked the floor, Rosa's pilot streamlining tasks, Marcus mentoring new hires. Janelle showed me her team's final code, her pride radiant. This is ours, she said. I nodded, my throat tight. This was why I fought, not just for Nexus Tech, but for them. For every door Grayson tried to slam to open my tablet, prepping for Solara. Mom's text glowing. They can't dim you. Grayson's war wasn't over, but I'd won this battle. Nexus Tech was rising, and I'd carry us higher, no matter what he threw next. The San Francisco skyline shimmered beyond the Nexus Tech atrium, its lights a quiet backdrop to the 500 employees gathered before me. Their faces alight with hope, pride, and a shared sense of victory. I stood on a simple stage, the Tech Innovator of the Year award from the Bay Area Tech Summit heavy in my hands, its weight a symbol of battles fought and won. I was Dr. Lena Harper, a black woman who'd risen from Chicago's South Side to lead Nexus Tech, a company I'd pulled from the brink of collapse and cleansed of its racist, toxic core. Victor Grayson, the CFO who'd sneered Janitor at me a year ago, was a ghost now, his Apex Tech bankrupt, his legacy dust. As I prepared to speak, Mom's text pulsed in my heart. Burn bright, baby. They can't dim you. This moment wasn't mine alone, it belonged to Janelle, Rosa, Marcus, and every soul who'd trusted me to rebuild. I was here to cement a legacy, not just for Nexus Tech but for an industry that needed to change, and to call every person in this room to carry the fire forward. The past year had been a crucible. I'd walked into a boardroom mistaken for a cleaner and turned that insult into a revolution. Nexus Tech had been hemorrhaging $35 million a quarter, its culture rotten with pay gaps, buried complaints, and executive bigotry led by Grayson. I'd fired the C-suite, faced his vicious counterattacks, client poaching, code theft, death threats, and rebuilt with a $50 million Solara Systems partnership and a vision of equity. Now, our stock had soared 340%, profits smashed records, and Nexus Flow dominated the market. Employee satisfaction hit the top 2% nationally, turnover vanished, and applications poured in, drawn by our reputation as Tech's equity beacon. But the real triumph was in the people before me: Janelle, whose code redefined Nexus Flow; Rosa, whose workflow pilot saved millions; Marcus, once a skeptic, now mentoring teens. They were the heart of this rebirth, and their stories were my strength. I lifted the award, my voice clear but warm. A year ago I was told to wait outside, my worth reduced to my skin. That could have been another wound, but you turned it into a spark. Together, we've shown that inclusion isn't a sacrifice, it's our superpower. The room stilled, eyes locked on me. I shared our latest coup, a $25 million deal with Horizon Dynamics. One because our diverse team saw markets others ignored. I unveiled the Harper Foundation, funded by my equity stake, to grant STEM scholarships and startup capital for minority youth. This isn't about giving, it's about unleashing brilliance the world overlooked, I said. Applause roared, but I pressed on. Racism still stalks this industry. It's in the assumptions, the closed doors, the silenced voices. We've changed Nexus Tech, but the fight's not over. Speak up, lift others, make every space yours. I stepped down, the crowd's energy a living pulse, and knew this was bigger than any award. It was a movement. The past month had crystallized our transformation. Nexus Flow's launch had stunned analysts, seizing 18% market share in weeks. Clients like Cascade, once hesitant, tripled their contracts, praising our innovation. Our equity ambassadors, now 120 strong, lead workshops that turned skeptics into allies. Rosa, promoted to operations lead, rolled out her efficiency model, company-wide, saving $6 million yearly. Her once quiet voice now a force. Janelle's open-source Nexus Flow module crushed Apex Tech's last efforts, earning her a TED Talk invite. Marcus's TechBridge program, teaching coding to Oakland teens, had 50 kids building apps, their eyes bright with dreams I'd once held. Each win was a brick in a new foundation, but the cost lingered: sleepless nights, threats to mom, the weight of proving a black woman could lead. My journal, a refuge since Caltech, held it all. I'm weary, but they're worth it. Every door I open is for them. Grayson's collapse was the final note. Apex Tech folded after our lawsuit over stolen code, his allies abandoning him. His public outburst calling me a token at a conference torched his reputation. The video viral. Then came his email, raw and unexpected. I fought you because you scared me, Lena. Not your skills, but what you meant, a world where I had to compete fairly. I was wrong. I read it, torn between anger at his harm and hope at his reckoning. I shared it with my team. Janelle's response sharp. He doesn't get forgiveness, but it proves we're shifting minds. Her fire echoed mine, forged in battles we shouldn't have faced. The industry felt the ripples. Amazon and Salesforce adopted our pay transparency, citing our 22% profit surge. Venture firms poured $120 million into diverse startups, inspired by our model. I keynoted at conferences, but brought Rosa and Marcus, their stories stealing the show. At one, a Latina intern, Sophia, approached me, voice shaking. Your speech made me stay in tech. I thought I didn't belong. I hugged her, remembering my own doubts at Caltech. You're the future, Sophia, I said. Lead it. Her gratitude was a mirror of my purpose, a reminder that every fight was for her, for the next generation. Challenges persisted. A few employees grumbled about forced inclusion, but truth talks turned dissent into dialogue. Greg, the manager, who'd leaked data, returned, transformed, mentoring ambassadors. I was blind, he admitted. Now I see the strength in everyone. His change, slow but real, showed progress wasn't a straight line. Rivals mimicked our tactics, their half-hearted day failing. I countered with a code of equity, signed by 60 tech firms, tying funding to measurable inclusion. It was imperfect, but a start. Mom, safe in Chicago, called nightly. You're doing what I dreamed, Lena, she said. But rest, I hadn't. The threat scar is lingering, but her voice kept me grounded. The Harper Foundation's launch was electric. At a San Jose gala, I stood with 25 scholarship recipients. Their ambitions: robotics, VR, climate tech spot. I shared my story. I was told I was less, but I built a place where you're more. Take it higher. Their cheers were thunder, their dreams my fuel. Back at Nexus Tech, I launched a future lab, pairing employees with foundation kids to co-create projects. Rosa mentored a teen on logistics, her pride radiant. I was unseen once, she told her. Now I'm unstoppable. So are you. Watching, I felt Mom's sacrifices woven into this moment, her strength alive in them. The industry shifted beyond boardrooms. Employees at rival firms started equity circles, inspired by our vision night, demanding accountability. A Barclay study linked our model to 35% higher innovation, naming Nexus Tech a blueprint. Grayson's apology, now public, sparked debate. Some dismissed it, others saw hope. I saw both, but focused forward. I met our newest hires like Sophia, their confidence a stark contrast to my early years. You're not just employees, I told them, you're changemakers, build bold. Their energy rekindled mine, a reminder that legacy was action, not accolades. Reflecting on my journey, I saw lessons carved in struggle. First, racism thrives in silence, but relentless can dismantle it. I learned to wield data, stories, and courage, turning Grayson's hate into fuel. Second, inclusion isn't a buzzword, it's a strategy. Our diverse team saw what Grayson's elite missed, driving Nexus Tech's 340% stock surge. Third, change is costly but collective. Janelle, Rosa, Marcus, they weren't just employees. They were my army, their voices amplifying mine. Finally, fear is real, but it's a signal, not a stop. Every threat, every doubt, pushed me to burn brighter. I thought of the open doors mural in our atrium, painted by our team, a promise that no one would be locked out again. I'd replaced that boardroom knob with a keyless one, a small act of defiance, a symbol that power belongs to those who earn it. As I left the stage, a reporter asked, "What's next, Dr. Harper?" I smiled, seeing Mom's face, Sophia's, hope, the mural's vibrant doors. "Everything," I said. "More voices, more truth, a world where no one waits outside." In my journal I wrote, "Grayson thought he'd break me. Instead, I broke a system. This is for every kid told they're less, every dream crushed by bias. We're not just winning, we're rewriting the rules." I looked at the crowd, their faces, my legacy, and asked them, "And you?" Reading this, what I'd asked myself a year ago. If you faced a world of racial bias or gender discrimination, how would you fight for the best outcome? Would you speak, build, or stand firm? Share your story, lift a voice, break a box. Together we'll burn brighter than any hate can dim.